Much like many ugly creatures destined for a beautiful transformation, I begin my perilous tale in a dark room pretending to be a boiling tea kettle. My name is Crumb Sandcastle, and I am what many in the Wild West would consider strange. Welcome to Red Dead Online. I immediately opt to skip the tutorial. Tutorials are boring. I then find myself sat on a chair in the middle of a desert with a great admiration for a hat which may or may not like shouting at children before I run face first into a cactus. Some guy was near me playing music, but I used my music to make his music shut up. Before I began my journey, I checked the daily challenges which involve such exciting endeavors as picking flowers, violently stealing the feathers from an eagle, and following a dog. I do the teapot and a fully grown human inside a horse appears. I accidentally punch it in the face and then it kicks my teeth out. I say a heartfelt apology and climb onto its back and run off further into the desert in search of my destiny. It isn't long before I spot a dog and follow it to treasure. A dead person in a bush. Good boy. I rummage the dead person's pockets and lose honor. But why? Were these sentient pockets? Did I do a naughty tickle? I put Mr. Dead on the back of my horse as decoration, like an air freshener or one of those taxi signs that people wave at. But instead of vanilla and raspberry, he smelled like worm sex and a spoon with poo on it. I saw a majestic big bird on a post and shot it in the flesh parts. I animalistically ripped out its feathers and threw it onto my horse. I was becoming a mobile Christmas tree of death. Some feather trotting by had the worlds of judgment, so I shot his horse in the head and laughed. But he didn't find it funny and started shooting me, which is illegal. I tried a daring escape on a passing train, but he followed. I wrapped him up with my big brown leg snake and dragged him along with the train and me, grating his face on the ground rocks like cheese that learned how to bleed a lot. Unfortunately, my horse was stupid and got hit by the train, so I jumped off again and saved it because I care. I picked up my dead friends and loaded them back onto the horse just in time for the connection to the Rockstar services to die. Brilliant! When I came back, I was in another part of the desert and the horse had lost my dead person and bird, so I punched it in the face. I opened up a catalog I was keeping between my tight, bright bottom cheeks and discovered I had $1,100 and some gold. Got a really cavernous anus. I was a cheap bastard though and just claimed a bunch of emotes, because I'm a socially inept lizard and can only learn how to interact with other life forms by copying sketches from a book in the 1800s. Obviously, I bought the hypnotism emote because I wanted to force people to do things like walking backwards and ripping the neck off of a child. I shot another bird and ran over a weird looking cow on my way to civilization to test my new hypnotism abilities. I arrived in the town of Armadillo, which was empty looking. I'd say it was abandoned, but I walked into the saloon and was greeted by a lone bartender.
One walk through this ghost town and I'd need a drink too.
He sold me a drink, but I don't think the drink was safe, because as soon as I touched it, I lost connection to the Rockstar services again. Why would Popular Cola Company do this? When I came back, again, I spawned miles away in the desert. Again. I wasn't annoyed. I went back to Armadillo and saw a more populated place. I even met my first real person and exchanged pleasant greetings. I went to the general store and looked at some clothes without the people in them. The shopkeeper kept talking about the plague. What the heck kind of sales tactic was this?
Let me tell you, I sure know how to run a shop during a plague.
I'm not gonna save the world with a f***ing scarf, you goblin. I spent some good money and looked so good the game actually told me I was hot. Hot like a sexy wasp man. It may have also been because the ground was spitting fire up like a spicy camel. Naturally, I dragged some old guy into the fire to see if it would hurt. And it didn't, but a guy ran away shouting about my naughty behavior, so I chased him like a feral animal and stabbed him in the hip. Some law people arrived and I shot at them all until they died as I hid cleverly behind a thin wooden pole. I escaped into the desert with a $70 bounty on my head in the town and more questions than answers. I found some cards in my pocket and chose one that let me slowly regenerate health when Deadeye is active, which is when an eye flops out of a skull and does tennis and sports before the splat happens. It soon became clear to me that I needed a job, so I could buy bread and a sofa to do farting on. I wanted to become a bounty hunter to make this money, but had to go all the way to a town called Rhodes to acquire a bloody license. What's happened to America? I didn't come here for responsibility and regulations. Still, No time like the present, and I wasn't one for getting easily distracted, so how long could this really take? I found myself trotting my worthless horse through the darkest depths of the night. All was silent but the horse. The horse was unsettled. A chill tickled my spine with the icy fingers of danger. Suddenly a man in a cat costume came sprinting at us with the speed of an actual mountain lion. Perhaps they had a mad case of the rabies, or perhaps it was just somebody with a weird hobby, like fishing or train watching. Ooh, look, a train! Ooh, look, I gave a fish a lip piercing and forced it to listen to My Chemical Romance. It's not okay. Black parades. Anyway, I picked up the Catman and straddled him onto my horse. Then something weird happened and I had to do it again. Not long after, I was approached by an owl and we became best friends. His name was Bert, and he was a cute little cuddle gremlin. He was very sleepy though. I hastily rode into the nearest town of Blackwater until my horse caught a case of the depression and didn't feel like moving anymore. He just happened to stop near a camp where some men started talking at me about meeting sheriffs and calling me the devil, and one of them bit seductively into a sausage and then looked at my sausage. Then they f***ed off and I left too. I don't understand socializing and I fear that I never will. I approached a man surrounded by meat and sold my man-cat carcass and Bert the owl. I would have felt sad, but maybe Bert would be happier with another owner. He had been rather quiet since I shot him in the head. Goodbye, Bert. Sweet Bert. Rest with the Moon Wizard now. Say nice things about Bert. Another player approached shortly afterwards, so I tried to hypnotize him, but it did not work. So I punched my horse in the head out of frustration and I have less teeth now. I was beginning to suspect this hypnotism was nothing more than a lot of bullshit. I trampled over a man and parked my horse on a box. Excitedly, I burst into the local tavern and played a game of the poker. I am not good at the poker. I do not know how to the poker, but I figured if I just pressed buttons, eventually I would win something before I turned into a fish. Or maybe I was thinking of a different game. Either way, it cost me $25 to buy into this game, so I had to not lose. Begin the exciting card game commentary. I folded my first game, then won the next game with a double pair. This gave me a case of the cocky and I bet a whopping $5 and lost. I was devastated. Would I even be able to buy the scooter for my bird? I sold my bird. Also, it may have been dead. What a shit day. I lost again and got sad and left. Gambling is stupid and I hate it. In an emotional state, I climbed upon the roof for attention, but nobody cared. I accidentally slipped, but it was okay. My face broke the fall. I punched my horse out of embarrassment and it had the nerve to fight back. At this point, I'm more than aware how upset a lot of people would get over me punching the horse so much. These are the same people that are absolutely fine with me shooting human beings in the neck and maybe even defending myself from the Catman in the bush. I don't know what to tell you, except that I'm going to keep doing it. When I woke up, I was given meat by a man in a hole. So I gave him money to get rid of my bounty because I was going to be a good boy from now on. This was obviously a lie, as I immediately jumped into the way of a passing carriage and tried jumping on for a ride. To my shock, I accidentally stole the carriage and they got angry and started shooting at me. I had no choice but to run away. Once again, a criminal. But this time with two new friends. Two new friends I struggled to drive with and soon made them fall off of a small incline and have the carriage roll over their faces. This is because I am what the locals would call an idiot. One of the horses ran away, but I managed to befriend the white one and we went traveling towards a church where I tried entering to ask for forgiveness. But Jesus locked the door, so I shot the building to teach him a lesson. The Moon Wizard was all that I needed anyway, and he would murder the shitting out of that Jesus guy in a fight of street rules. I had some trouble getting back on my new horse as it liked weird angles and falling over. My old horse was clearly jealous and tried to sabotage my relationship, so I punched it in the head and he ran away. Good. With my new horse, it was time to head north to get my bounty hunter license. Finally. I killed the horse 20 seconds later. I promise I wasn't doing this on purpose. I really am just an idiot. I stabbed the dead horse in the face, which I thought was a respectful thing to do in these circumstances. I ran forwards on foot and felt the loving touch of Lady Luck as I stumbled up a train before it left the station. Sitting on top of the train and promising myself I would not do anything else reckless until I got to civilization again, I waved at all my fans and soon passed a sign that told me I was heading into Lemoyne, which was exactly where I needed to be. I would be in Rhodes soon. Look at me, behaving, with a face like that. The train didn't stop, so I had to jump off. I found the wanted poster board and watched as some woman with a carriage full of dead people appeared and got paid lots of money.
Bounty hunting ain't so hard. Any fool can do it.
She had a weird way of talking to people, but she told me everything I needed to know to get started in the bounty hunting world. Then she started shouting at a barrel with hands before shooting the blood out of it. Some guy pressured me into giving him 10 gold for a bounty hunting license, which I gave him, and now look at me. Sexier than I was before. Let's get some money. I waved at some guy with horses.
You gonna explain your damn self, huh?
And reluctantly called my old horse back. He was terrible, but loyalty was appreciated. Subscribe. Bob Dylan was our first target, dead or alive. But alive would mean more money. I snuck up and killed his friendships, but he ran like a coward. I gave chase on my awful horse, but my awful horse really sucked. It had the stamina of a deceased toe. Eventually I found my target and roped up his legs and stole his dynamite and coins and put him on Dum Dum Horse. Some more bad guy friendships showed up, so I killed them too. This horse really sucked. More friends kept showing up, so I killed them, and then he wriggled away, so I grabbed him again, and horse really sucks and took forever to get anywhere at all. Eventually, the big Dum Dum Horse bucked me off, so I got frustrated and just became the man horse and delivered him all by myself. Afterwards, some really rude guy barged me in the body palace, so I tackled him, but got shot in the head. When I woke up from my fatal head puncture, I sat in an open clearing and thought about my next move. Cinematically. I had it! I was going to capture a man. A real man. Like Santa does before he tickles up their nose with pipe cleaners and does a wee-wee up their bum-bum. I never looked forward to Christmas. But before that, I picked up another bounty. I didn't capture her alive because I used my dynamite to make a big boom and then shot her friend's blood out and carried her across fields before throwing her onto a carriage somewhere with some guy who probably does weird stuff with the dead bodies, like popping off the limbs and using glue to make a custom human for the ultimate sex, like Lego for perverts, or just Lego. Anyway, I slid myself back into Rhodes under cover of darkness on my horse, which was most definitely brain damaged. I decided to wait in the local drinking establishment, and naturally deciding to blend in with the times by ordering a whiskey and staring creepily at an innocent woman. Thank the Moon Wizard, women are treated with respect nowadays. Right? I got bored after 2 minutes and ran outside on the street like some sort of crinkly wrinkly bum goblin and made my way onto a different town because this town smells. I refused to use the useless nag that continued to follow me around though, instead choosing to wait for a friendly traveler to pass by, and I put a really big murder on them. I stole their carriage, their 2 horses, their apples, and their celery. It was shit celery. I rode triumphantly into the town of Valentine and excitedly noticed the stables. I parked up and ran inside to buy a horse, which wasn't stupid. Say hello to Lump. He's a horse called Lump. This took away pretty much all of my money, but I thought whatever. It'll give me the hunger and the drive to make more. I also purchased a brush and some carrots and stuff for my little lumpy pumpkin, so we can be all happy and grow big balls. To my disappointment, I couldn't ride him yet though, as I needed $52 for the most basic saddle and I only had $12 left. This would mean I would have to make at least $457 to buy the saddle. The smartest option to me seemed to be to bring in another bounty. And look at this haggard witch of a woman. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging of you, don't make this difficult or I'll peel your arm skin off, stab you with a stick and stir you into a big bowl of lemon juice and goose semen. That reminds me, I should advertise my cooking book. I don't have a cooking book. They were all rejected by the publishers. Too much semen, they said. But how else was I supposed to close the envelopes? I gave Jolene the rope cuddle and tried to drop her off of a hill for fun, but she escaped. The wriggly little sausage. I captured her again and shot a horse in the face, but she got free again and punched my face into blood custard against a tree. I was not very good at this. Let's try it again. but with better. I cleverly and cautiously snuck up on the witch's camp and shot the horses so she couldn't run away. I systematically cleaned up any and all mess. I took her down and listened to her mean witch words.
Cursed! Cursed!
These words of evil may cast a spell on the average cowboy, but I was deaf in one ear so I couldn't hear a thing. I hurled her into a jail cell and got enough money for my saddle. Then I was murdered by Tom Cruise and I pressed charges. When I woke up from death, I purchased the saddle and left on the back of my new lump in search of Tom Cruise. But he was gone. Finding him again would surely prove to be an impossible mission, and I would need a few good men to bring him down. His mummy was shit. I figured maybe now would be a good time to check my post. Lump wasn't allowed into the building with me though, and my head hurt. I never remember why. I had received a telegram marked Strange Tales of the West, which spoke of a plague and some guy called Theodore, with a desire to steal some corpses for a study. This sounded right up my street, so I accepted and then got teleported back to the outskirts of Armadillo. What sorcery was this? I ran into a person and stole them but got shot. What the hell was I even doing? The sky got really angry and a bunch of people in curtains started shooting me with annoyingly good aim, as zombies shambled towards me with big bread knives and murderous intent. After failing miserably going all guns blazing, I decided to go sneaky sneak with my knife and it went pretty well. Until somebody screamed and I took a safety cuddle by myself on the floor. The dead kept coming and would only be put down once I killed the cultist weirdo who raised them. I managed to steal one corpse and deliver it to the guy with the wagon at the edge of town, and died when I went back into an axe-throwing zombie. This was difficult, so I did the admirable thing, and I quit. I then found myself in a mysterious realm called proper multiplayer with other people that want to put killing in you as they try to win points for some reason. My first tussle went as expected. I was lost in a forest, shooting people in the spine 48 times, which only irritated them, so much so that they turned around and shot me. And then I fell over a bit. In the whispers of the forest folk, this was called a dick move. But don't worry, somehow I got revenge on them but got too carried away with my anger stomps and I fell asleep again. This happened a few times until the game just sort of ended, and my team lost 61 points to 2. I joined late though, so it definitely wasn't my fault and they were cheating and I had the sun in my eyes. But for serious, what the fudge biscuits were the enemy team eating for breakfast? Or were my team just a useless bucket of slug people dancing in salted caramel? I voted dislike, because I'm bitter. Another game happened, but this time the goal was to eliminate the special crumpet on each team, and it had some fun moments, like these. Also, I learned what happens to a man's face when you explode it with an arrow loaded with explosion at close range. The result is a face that looks like somebody trampled in strawberry custard with a shoe made of elephant poo, infested with drops of popping candy that are actually teeth and pieces of nose. Inevitably, it was another embarrassing loss, as it felt like the other team were made out of Wolverine skeletons. I tried waiting for another game to play, but I didn't have 26 bloody hours to wait, so I left instead. I couldn't help but think, maybe that didn't go well because I had basic guns held together by wet mud and wet wishes. As soon as I was back in town, I ventured into the shop of gunsmith to upgrade my arsenal, but quickly felt the cold hand of reality slap me across the man sack. I was poor. So poor. I needed more money. So what was a man to do in a world such as this? The only thing I was ever any good at. No, not getting my head kicked by a horse. Justice. One last bounty. This one, however, was different. In the very town I got my wanted poster, a gang of naughty men were waiting to meet the target for a Beyblade competition or humping or something. My plan now was to find a place to hide and wait for them to arrive. Ambush. When a pile of leaves with the sadness softly sings gentle tunes in the early hours of the morning. There's one easy, easy like a man creeping on top of a building and watching other people a little. That's how that song goes. I waited cleverly behind a raised bit of a thing which was just bigger than I was, but to my great shock, a man began shouting at me.
What the hell are you doing here? Get out of here now, or I'll make you.
What are you doing? Your poncho's really cool. I'm gonna shoot you with bullets, he said before I did what I had to do. I jumped off the roof and started stabbing him with a knife. I wasn't fast enough though, as he had already alerted his mud wrestling goofballs, who began rushing to my location. I would have to fight for my life with only 2 bullets? Shit giblets. I used my only 2 shots against some of the charging anger men. Their heads now make a nice home for tiny birds. Dread crept over me like an anime pillowcase being foreplayed on by a virgin boy with the social skills of moldy cabbage. If I was to survive this, I would have to use every bit of experience I had learned in my travels, and my knife. I began defending myself with extreme violence immediately, poking so many holes in my aggressors they would bleed like a watering can would. Not that watering cans bleed, but you know, the water could... Shut up. They chased me around the buildings looking desperately to cut me off, kiss me and pile their numbers on me and beat me up a lot until I died. But I was freshly oiled in the lubricant of their incessant failures and dodged bullets better than a politician dodges responsibility in marriage commitments. I stabbed and I stabbed more and 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 then some more. Why were there so many? Where did they come from? The center of the earth? Like the cows do? I butchered every last one until there was only one remaining. The one. The target. He was far away and running. I looted some ammunition and took off on my sweet loyal lump. I caught the bastard by the river with the wet feet and puny splashes. I tied him up and began running back to claim my reward. This was my ultimate test. This was how I showed myself to the world. This was me. This was me. Realizing with 4 seconds to go that my mission was timed and I failed and then my target f***ed off into the void. What an idiot. I jumped off of a cliff because I hated myself. Did you know that because of your ferocious support and loyalty to the Great Wizard of the Moon, the Earth is not going to blow up today? Isn't that wonderful? If you desire further blessing and protection from the great lunar tentacles, then make sure to subscribe and toggle notifications on so you never miss another video. Moon Wizard bless you all, and see you next time.